It's Sandra. Welcome to another episode of Asexualized, my asexual life. This is a place to be for education about asexuality, all things asexual, and I share my own asexual life journey in order to help you in yours. If you haven't already subscribed, please hit that great big subscribe button right here, right now. Don't forget to hit that bell icon to get notified of every time I go like now or post a new video. And don't forget to give this video a thumbs up as we go along if you're enjoying the content. Welcome to another episode. If you didn't know who I am Sandra Bellamy, author of this beautiful book, Asexual Perspectives, Love, Life and Sex, a celebration of asexual diversity, and it's 47 asexual stories, which are from across the globe and all across the different parts of the spectrum. Obviously, as asexuality is such huge spectrum, not every definition of asexuality is mentioned in here, but it does give you a broad overview. I'm also the founder of asexualise.com and the founder of Asexualised Academy. So today I want to talk to you about what is a living apart together relationship, or what's an LAT relationship. LAT stands for living apart together relationship. So if you're looking for a relationship of any sort and you're asexual, or even if you're not asexual, it's very important that you understand from the very beginning with your potential partner whether or not the living arrangements are going to be suitable together in the future, hypothetically. So before you even get into relationship with someone, you should be asking them what type of relationship they want. And one of the questions should be, do you want to live together in the future or not? Is that a deal breaker for you or not? So as you know, I'm asexual. I'm a romantic asexual, a heteromantic, so I'm attracted to guys only. And I'm on asexual dating sites. And years ago, I was explaining to this guy who lives in the UK. Usually I prefer foreign guys, but this guy lived in the UK. I was on the asexual dating site. And I said to him, I was discussing needs, and I said to him that I'm looking for an LAT. Which is a living apart together relationship. And he said, no, that would be no good for me because I want to live with someone. And it's quite normal for the majority of romantic asexuals to want to live with a partner. If an aromantic asexual, so for example, aromantic asexual is someone who lacks romantic attraction and doesn't experience sexual attraction either, if they have a relationship like a queer platonic relationship, would be quite more normal for them to live separately, as they got no romantic attraction going on, so they don't feel that innate need necessarily to live with a person. However, there are people in my Asexual Perspectives book who do actually want to live with someone, and they are aromantic. So, it does vary from person to person, and this is why it's so important. So I need to define for you, obviously, what LAT means if you've never heard of it before, because you might see on dating sites, even sexuals do this too, surprise, surprise. You might see on a dating site that someone wants a LAT relationship, and you might be, what's a LAT relationship? Does that mean late? They're coming to the party late, or they want to wait till they're 80 or something? What does it mean? It means living apart together relationship. So a living apart together relationship is where you live separately, but you're still in a serious and committed relationship. So it's not like you're single and you're with someone and you're in an open relationship where you can see other people. A living apart together relationship is where you are in a serious committed relationship, but you don't live with each other. You live in separate places. So this is something that's very important to know, because some asexuals might not want to live with a partner, especially if they don't like sex, if they're sex repulsed, if they're touch averse, they probably don't want to live with a partner in the same, or at least in the same room. But living apart together relationship is not about being in different rooms in a house. It's not about being in separate, like floors in the same house. It literally is about living apart in a separate house, usually. Not living in the same accommodation, because you have like a living apart together relationship. So you are actually apart from each other in separate houses. You could just live next door to each other though. So you could have a house next to a house, and that'd be classed, that'd be classed as a living apart together relationship. In general, you tend to live a bit further apart, but you want to live near each other. So with living apart together relationships, you tend to live in the end, you tend to live near each other. Like one partner needs to move to live near the other usually. So rather than it just being a long distance relationship, you live round the corner, like you might live a few blocks away from each other. That's what the normal kind of setup is, but not necessarily. Some people can live several miles apart. So I know a customer in my old job, and he wasn't asexual, he's the opposite, and his partner did actually live some miles away from him. They had living apart together relationship, so they lived in separate places. So it is kind of like it can be more of a long distance thing, but they were permanently like that, you know. But obviously if you were like around the other side of the globe living separately, that'd be like a long distance relationship rather than a living apart together relationship as such. However, you know, you are still living apart and have a relationship. So but when people use the term living apart together relationship, it usually means they're living in the same country, not too far away from each other, in separate places. That's what it usually means. But it could, you know, it could be some miles apart. So for example, you know, I've said it's not usually miles apart because I know the people that I know of, usually they live not too far away from each other. But there is, like, even my housemate who lives in my house, we live in Devon, and her boyfriend's in Dorset, which is another county in the UK. So that is, and he comes over every weekend. So they have a living apart together relationship, and that's been going on for 7 years, I think it is now. So that would be an example. So they are quite a bit. I don't know how long it takes, about an hour and a half, I think, maybe longer. I don't know. I'm not very good with directions and hours and stuff. So for example, in the UK, there's a place called Bristol, and Exeter, where I live, is not too far from Bristol, but it's about 2 hours drive or an hour and a half on the train. So that, you know, that would be classed as a living apart together relationship with the person, but it'd also be classed as like a long distance thing. But usually I think when most people refer to living apart together relationship, they kind of want someone to live nearer them, if you know what I mean. That's the ideal case scenario. And so basically you are in a serious and committed relationship, but you live separately to each other. So when I'm looking to get into a relationship, it's really important for me to get someone who also is happy with a living apart together relationship. So what might be the reasons that you might want a living apart together relationship? Because like most people want to live together, right? But that's actually not totally true. Several years ago, I was reading in the local paper that 1% of British people, which would be the heteronormative, heterosexuals usually, 1% of the British people do have a living apart together relationship. So this is like people who want sex, like sex, and enjoy it. And you would have thought that those type of people would be more inclined to live together because obviously there's more opportunity for sex if they live together, isn't there? But in my old job, I had, I said my old job going back years ago now, I used to sell appointments for fitted bedrooms, and I used to show people around a showroom. I used to be a manager of a fitted bedroom, an office place. I used to basically, well, I say sell appointments, wasn't really selling. It was selling as in the sense I was selling the idea of the appointment, but I didn't actually, you know, make money until, well, actually it was commission based. So if you made an appointment, you got a basic wage plus commission on top for getting the appointment. So it's like selling an appointment, if you know what I mean. And so anyway, to cut a long story short, there was this man and woman, and they were both looking for bedroom furniture, but they lived near each other but apart. So they were having a living apart together relationship, and they both wanted to do each of their bedrooms up. So they're both looking for separate, thank you for the thumbs up. They were both looking for fitted bedrooms for each of their own places, but they were coming together because they were still in a relationship together. So it's really important, you know, that you can actually still make decisions, joint decisions together about different things, even though you're living apart. You can actually, you know, have that, you know, still have that input with each other. So that's why it's really important, you know. And so just because you're living apart doesn't mean to say you can't be in each other's lives. So I think it's really important when you do live apart that obviously if your other partner, other half is staying around your place, you might want to ask them, you know, what type of bed's comfortable for you as well. Do you know what I mean? That type of thing, if they're staying over. But ultimately it's your decision. So the benefits of a living apart together relationship are, you know, you've got your own space, you've got your own place. If anything should go wrong in the relationship, it means you don't have to worry about being financially tied to that person because you're looking after self, paying for your own place, paying for your own bills, paying for your own food. So you're very much a self-contained unit. So there's a lot more safety in actually having your own place living separately. I know some people think that there's safety in numbers, that if you have other people living with you, or that you have like a partner, they can share the bills and stuff. But that's very dangerous because you are reliant on that other person being with you, staying with you, to financially help with the bills and stuff. But if things go wrong in your relationship, not only have you got the worry with the relationship, you've also got the worry of the bills and the financial responsibilities you jointly have. If your partner's got like really loads of money and they can just walk away, then you've got a low paid job, then you could be like, oh my God, how am I going to support myself, pay for all these bills and stay here when I clearly can't? And then you're kind of left, you could be left in the home paying the bills when you don't have the money to. So it's a very, very dangerous situation to get yourself into. I've been in that situation in the past. I wouldn't want it again. I mean, if I had someone living with me, I would rather pay for the place and they come and be my lodger and pay me rent. Do you know what I mean? So that's the alternatives for me are another person, like separating rooms off, like having your own separate room, or separating whole house into 2 flats, like, and they pay me rent. So if anything goes wrong relationship, they can really move out. But obviously if they're paying me rent, they don't have to move out. That's the difficulty in that one, because they're like, they've got a tenancy or whatever, because I'm still a landlady girl, you know what I mean? So that's that's still the difficulty with that. But separate rooms, separate beds. If you don't want to live in a part together relationship, you can have separate beds if you don't like sleep in the same bed but still be in the same room, or separate rooms, or section parts of a house off. But ideally, with a living part together relationship, you literally don't live in the same house, you live in separate places, and usually it's not too far. So normally you'd want one person to move nearer to live near you, because you really don't want to be forking the money out, going backwards and forwards for years and years, doing that type of thing, unless you've got that money. You don't mind doing it. So the benefits, obviously, like I've said, the financial benefits have been, if something goes wrong in the relationship, you're not financially tied to that person, you're completely independent unit. Like, I've lived on my own now for 14 and a half years here, and I absolutely love living in this flat. I don't want to move from it. It's like a godsend to me. It's a beautiful, beautiful place I live in. I'm 5 minutes walk from the quayside. I couldn't be happier about that. The quayside next is so beautiful, the swans and the ducks and the greenery and the water flowing, and it's very peaceful and really comforting. It's a really beautiful place to go. I live 5 minutes from a small town. I live, 20 minutes from the city centre. And, I've got access to public transport very easily on my 5 minutes around the corner, or 25 minutes to get the main train station. And it's just like, it's absolute bliss. And I do not want my life to be any less than it already is. I'm really happy as it is. I'm happy as a self-contained unit, supporting myself, living in this beautiful flat, which is very much my world of quirky. It's bright and bubbly like me. It's got loads of pictures, loads of funky stuff I can put over it. It's like living in your bedroom 24/7 and being a teenager all the time. And I adore that type of lifestyle, I have always wanted to kind of buy my own house outright, though. That's been one of my dreams. But I'm very content living here, but I don't own it. I rent it. So I'm blessed. I'm so blessed. I absolutely adore it here. So there's other reasons, like if you're asexual that can't sleep in the same bed as someone, that's another good reason to have your own separate place. And especially the best scenario is for you to live around the corner from each other. Then your special partner can go back to their place to sleep, and then you can do whatever in your place. Because I'm like up till like 4 a.m. a lot of the time. I don't want to be going to bed at 10 or 11 at night. I mean, that is just the most boring sleep pattern. I'm not saying I don't always. Like today, I've been like really, I've had a stressful week, so I've been really tired today. So I've been sleeping for several hours in the day. Again, if I lived with a partner, especially in a studio flat like this, that would be inappropriate, because he'd have nowhere to go than the room, and I'd be asleep for several hours. So having your own place means it gives you time to actually, catch up on some sleep if you had a wild, crazy, like several days of the week. And it also gives you time to unwind and relax. And like, I'm a sports-free zone. I don't watch any sport. I actually hate sport. I can't stand it. And so, I don't have to have stuff on the TV that I don't want to in my own home. I don't have to have bad energies. I don't have to have rubbish in my life, So it's good that when you have your separate places, you can live your own separate lives. You can have the space you need. You can have the time to yourself. but you can also have that you can give that person more quality time. I think from a romantic point of view it is hard, because if I'm kissing the person and they just walked off home, that would feel like they've left me, kind of, when I'm really enjoying myself with them. Do you know what I mean? And if I can go, I'm not saying that they don't ever stay over my place, but to be honest, I was so glad after the last relationship I had, just to get my bed back to myself. I don't like sharing a bed, not because I don't love the person, but because, like, it's really hard. I have fibromyalgia and I can't have anyone touching my pressure points. And when there's someone else in bed, I can, like, feel them subconsciously, even if I'm not fully awake. And I can't have anyone's knee or arm or anything touching my body when I'm in a state of sleep. And for my fibro, I can still kiss and cuddle them in other beforehand, but it can even hurt. So I need all my space in my double bed to myself. I physically need that space. And if I've got someone in the same bed as me, I can't get that. And I usually can't get to sleep. And I'm bored out of my brain. That's such a waste of life. They could be going back to their place, getting the sleep they need. And I could be up till like 4 a.m, doing my own thing, dancing around my room, having a great time in my life. Instead, they're sat in my bed, sleeping. I can't sleep and I'm bored out of my skull. I'm thinking, what's the point in doing this? This is not a life I want to lead. Do you see what I mean? So if you've got very different sleeping patterns, a living apart together relationship is ideal. If you've got very different lifestyles, if your person's introverted, you're extroverted, it gives the introverted person a chance to, like, spend some time with themselves. It gives them the space they need. So they might spend like 2 or 3 days a week with you as because they're introvert, but they really want to see you and spend time with you. But then they'll spend the next 4 to 5 days at their own place. So the introverts always got their own space, always got their own time. I'm not an introvert. I'm actually an extrovert, but I do have some introvert tendencies, because I do like spending time on my own. I do like, being engrossed in my own creative pursuits. I do like just blocking the whole world out sometimes and just forgetting social media and just forgetting everything. Now I'm just like, I want to zone out. I've had enough. I need my time and space to myself. I need to nourish my soul. I need to fulfill my soul. I need to be close to my own body, close to my own soul, close to my own heart. And when you're living with someone, you can't necessarily do that as much, because you get caught up in their life. You get caught up in their drama. If they're quite a dramatic person, you get caught up in their problems and their issues. I mean, obviously, if you're partners with someone, you want to share problems, you want to share issues. But if you've got a lot going on in your own life, because you live different lifestyles and you've got a lot of problems yourself, sometimes problems after problems isn't always healthy. You need to get away and sort your own head out in your own life, because you're not going to be healthy and responsive and good for another person so long as you've got a load of rubbish and piling on top of your own plate. Do you know what I mean? So having that space and time apart can make you more refreshed to see each other, more focused on the other person, more intentional with speaking to them, more kind and caring towards them, because you've had a break from not just them as a person, because you love and adore them, but from the everyday life. Like today, I just had to go to an appointment in the morning, and I was really enthusiastic, energetic and excited, because I was in the city. I was by the cathedral. I was munching some lentil chips, which are like lentil crisps in the UK, and they're like allergy free. And I was looking at the cathedral and I was just taking in the atmosphere. It was beautiful, and I was just chilling out by myself. I haven't spent much time with myself lately, and it's really important that you do spend time with yourself. And obviously, if you have a living apart together relationship, you can spend more time with yourself. And it's really important, because once you get into a relationship, you can kind of lose yourself a bit, or forget who you are, or disconnect from your own soul, because you're too busy trying to please the other person, or trying to make them happy, or trying to get involved in their life, that you forget to lead your own and do your own passions and live your own dreams. And now I'm single again, and I'm really happy. I want to maintain that singleness. I love my life, and I don't want to live with anyone. It's not suitable for me. And even that time last month, when I was in April, when I was with that British guy for a little bit, when he was in my bed, I just when we split up, I was just so happy that he'd gone from my life in terms of the bed, because I just wanted my own bed back. And the difficulty is where I live. If I obviously with asexuals, we're all spread around the country and around the world. So if I do get into a relationship with an asexual guy, for example, or any guy, but preferably asexual, then he's kind of going to need to stay in my place if he's staying in my city, unless he pays for a hotel every time, which can get very, very expensive. I don't have a spare room. I don't have a sofa. I only have this room. So it does make life a lot more difficult for me, because it's like, I want the guy to come over here more, because like I'm not in a financial position to travel at the moment, you know. Plus I've got my Mac here. Plus I've got everything here I need. If I go and stay over someone else's house who lives a long way away, I just get bored, because I don't want to sleep. I don't want to sit there just sleeping next to them and not do anything with my life. And that's why really I love my single life so much, you know, because if I get into a relationship and I'm going around their place, like, I like to be doing something active with them, talking as well, and being excitable and eating. But I can't just sit in front of the television. I can't just do Netflix and chill. That isn't who I am. You know, I want to be doing something all the time. And all my equipment, like my Mac, my hard drive, or everything I do with my writing, it's all here in my own flat. And so ideally I want someone to just live around the corner, come to live near me, around the corner from me. So I have the benefit of me and them seeing each other and spending time being near each other. So if anything goes wrong, if they're really sick or anything like that, then I'm there for them. They're there for me, but then we've got our own space to do our own thing. And so that, you know, we're, you know, that, so I can still live my dreams. You know, the worst thing for me is, possible thing for me is to get into a relationship and I don't live my dreams, you know, because I don't want to be held back in life. You know, I've got so many dreams and goals, ambitions that I haven't yet fulfilled, and it's just like I need to do them, you know. And I cannot, I'll be bored out my brain if I end up in a relationship where the guy's just like, let's sit in front of the TV and put our slippers on. It's like, I'm not that type of person. I would just literally get bored. I'd just be like, you may as well go to your own place, go and watch TV around your own place. I'm not interested. I'm really not. I don't watch TV. It's a waste of life to me. And so, you know, you can see the difference. But I mean, as loads of asexuals are introverted, a lot of introverts do need their own time. So just because I'm and space, so just because I'm extrovert doesn't mean to say I can be with an introvert. I think it's highly possible I could, if they still like going out with me some places, you know. If they don't want to go out at all, then it wouldn't be suitable. But if they want to go to theme parks, zoos, aquariums with me, all that type of thing, that would be really good. You know, they don't need to be as wild and crazy as I am. But, you know, it would be nice to have someone in a relationship, the right person. But, you know, my lifestyle's such that it's more suitable to either stay single or have a living apart together relationship with someone. You know, the living apart together relationship as well, you can bring food around each other's places. So you buy your own food, you take it round theirs. You know, I mean, some people don't live like that. Some people just have it. But the thing about a living apart together relationship that's hard is you have to have kind of two of everything. So you have to have like, so if I've got a hairdryer at my place, I need a hairdryer at their place if I'm staying over. So if you're having a living apart together relationship, you don't actually live near them and you've got to travel and stay with their place at weekends and stuff. Like I said, that's like a hard scenario for me, because if they come and stay in my city, you know, and they're my boyfriend, then, or life partner, then they kind of need to stay in my place, because it's like, it's too expensive really for them to keep forking out for hotels, unless they're, you know, got a good business. Then it might be fine for them. And there is a hotel just in my road, just down the road, literally. So that's quite appropriate for them to stay there. You know, that's ideally what you want. You want them to like kiss and cuddle yachts, but then, you know, just go a few doors up and go and sleep in their own bed or in the hotel. Do you know what I mean? But you know, it's very, I live a very different lifestyle and I love my lifestyle. I don't want my life to be any less than it already is, any less exciting, invigorating, happy, because I've got a partner, because that's not what a partner should do. A partner should enhance your life, should make it more, you know, keep it as special as it already is, or even more so, they should be encouraging you in goals, ambitions, dreams. They should be very healthy for you, you know. And I do find it difficult to get a balance being a romantic, because obviously if I'm in the middle of kissing someone, I don't just want them to walk out down the road. It'd be like, well, and you're not enjoying kissing me then. You're not feeling the romance. But obviously if they want to go to bed and they're tired, you know, so it's a kind of a fine balancing act, I think. But you know, there's a lot of advantages. You know, you have separate bills, you can buy your own food and bring it around the other person's home, but you have to have two of everything, like I said. So I have to have a hair dried, I have to have spare underwear at their place if I stayed over. This is assuming you're living in a part together relationship, means you stay with the other person's home rather than just go back to your own place. If you're staying with the other person's home, you've got to have, you know, underwear, clothes around theirs, hair dryer, toiletry, shampoo, pretty much everything you got your home, you have to double up on their home. So that can be quite stressful at times, because you can be backwards and forwards, especially if they're not doing your washing for you. because I wouldn't expect them to. I'd take all my washing back to mine. You can spend you go to theirs for 3 days, and then you've got loads of washing at your place to do, plus your own washing up, and you've got stuff to do at their place as well. And it can just get quite a lot, and when you're constantly taking stuff backwards and forwards, in bags, it can hurt your arms, and it can be a lot of toing and froing. So there's kind of a lot of lifting involved, a lot of moving things around and shifting things, and that can be quite annoying or frustrating, or a lot to do at once, to be honest with you. But I do think it's hugely beneficial when you've got a different lifestyle, when you've got different ways of living. I don't particularly like anyone around my flat. I invite you in, but it's very difficult because I just live in my bedroom. So if I invite any male friends into my bedroom, it's a bit like, what's going on? Do you know what I mean? And so I like to kind of keep separate. But I've always been kind of like that. When I did live with a guy, he would have mates that he would kind of want to bring over, and I'm not expecting them. I'm not in the right frame of mind to have people in my home. I don't just want people dropping in either. I'm not that type of person that likes people dropping in, whereas a lot of guys, they like their mates dropping in. I'm not that type of person. I prefer to have planned activities, to have my friends plan to come to my place, not just drop in at the drop of a hat. It don't work like that. And so that's another disadvantage for me living with someone, because if they want their mates just dropping in at the drop of a hat, and I have stuff planned, or I'm not comfortable with them being in my space in that moment, that can be very stressful for me, So I'd rather live in my own place, and then they can live in their own place, and they can have whoever they want, round spontaneously. And I will have all my life planned, as much as possible. I'm not saying I don't do spontaneous things, but it's usually a planned spontaneous thing. Oh, you're going to be around at 3 o'clock, because if you are, then I'm around. And it's like, okay. And then I have to think what I'm going to do between now and 3 o'clock to rearrange my day to fit that in and rearrange my work around it. So, but living a part together relationship is great. And I really want that, but there's not many other asexuals that do. The majority of asexuals want to live with their partner. Even if they have separate beds, they want to live with their partner. And it's like, I'm not happy doing that. I'm not comfortable. I was so miserable when I did that before, because the life I led was just degrading, depleting, whatever you want to call it, was just deteriorating my life, living the normal life where the person, we go out to work and have a normal job, and then the person comes home and then they eat their food and watch a bit of telly, and by 11 or 10 or 11 they're in bed asleep. It's just not the life. That's a normal, boring life I never want to be part of. And I know I'm probably insulting a lot of people out there who would love to lead that boring, normal life with a special someone. I want the special someone, but I don't want to lead a boring life. I would just I would lose my soul like that. It would just be death for my soul, It's like, I don't want to live like that. I want to live every day to the max, as much as possible. I want to live in my passion, live in the moment, live for now. And when you live on your own, you can live for now. You can have a massive party in your own bedroom for hours on end. I got my laser light I sometimes put on around the room, and I'm jigging up and down for an hour and a half. And, and I can just pick up a book and read it, and I'm not interrupting anyone. I keep the TV off. I don't have the TV on, and I can start learning stuff whenever I want. I can start doing what I want when I want. It's pure freedom. And although I want to be in a relationship, and I hope I find the right guy for me, I can't see me living with someone. If I did live with someone, it would probably be sectioning a house off into 2 separate flats, to be honest. And I'd be owning the house, and they'd be paying me rent. That's the only time I could see it possibly would work. Then if the relationship didn't go ahead, they could just leave, and I'll get someone else as my lodger. Do you know what I mean? But obviously they might not want to leave. They might spell me but still not want to leave. That would be quite awkward then. Which is why the living apart together idea is much better, ideally I'd love to be with a younger asexual Indian guy. And to be fair, I don't think, if I was with the right Indian guy, I don't think I'd be bored. I think I'd be loving just spending time with them, to be honest, so much. One day I'll meet my asexual Indian soulmate. One day I live in hope. Yay. But I am open to other possibilities, but that's my ideal scenario. But yeah, so what do you think of a living apart together relationship? You can have your own lifestyle, you can sleep when you want, do what you want, have your own time, privacy. It's sometimes when I go in the shower, I have a 40-minute shower usually, and the water on my neck is just beautiful, and the shower's just great and makes me feel so good. If you're living with someone, you have to think about when they want the shower, or does the noise from the shower wake them up? You know, like, I'm going to be away from them for like 40 minutes. Are they occupied and doing something, or are they bored out of their brain? Do you know what I mean? It's a lot of stuff that goes on when you live together that's different. You know, you think it's all going to be moonlight and roses. It's not. It's going to get boring after a while if you're just doing the same things over and over again, living in the same space 24/7. Do you know what I mean? Unless you get the right person, you really just enjoy being their company in their arms 24/7. But I mean, I'm a doing person. Like, I like being in the arms of the person. I like spending 3 to 4 hours kissing, to be honest. But you know, there are times when I just want to go and do my work. And if I don't do my, you know, like, when I say work, you know, writing or website, you know, and if I don't do that, I just get stressed. Like, it's like I'm lacking my creative pursuits, and I'm, you know, my soul is going away from me because I need to be creative, you know. So, but there are tons of advantages to being living apart, and you know, you're still seriously committed. So I think it takes a lot more time, energy, and effort to having a living apart together relationship than it does living together, because so much more trust. You have to really trust that person, because you are going to be spending probably 4 or 5 days without the other person, or 3 at least, I'd say, you know. And they're going to be half the week where you don't see them, but you can still keep in contact. I still like messaging, chatting, video chatting, all the rest, but you do need time to yourself. If you're video chatting and messaging all the time, you can't get any of your creative pursuits done. So it's like, what's the difference between that and living with someone? You know what I mean? So then you have to consider if you really do want to live with them or not, if it gets to that stage. But you know, having a living apart together relationship can be very, very healthy. But there's a lot of trust involved. There's more trust involved, because you're in effect going to have your separate life even more. So when you're living with someone, you might go, oh, well, you know, like, Harvey's coming over today, or Brian's coming, or I'm seeing this person, that person. You're kind of like telling them. Whereas if you live separately, you would just go and see that person. Really, you wouldn't, like, they wouldn't, you know, they wouldn't be coming back to your home, so it wouldn't be encroaching on the other person's life, if that makes sense. You're like running your own life, seeing your own friends, doing anything, but obviously there's a lot of trust involved in that, like more trust, because you've got to be very, very, make sure you've got a very faithful person, because they could be off like 3 or 4 days or whatever with some other woman or some other guy or some other person, you know. And they could be growing a relationship and deep friendship with another person and becoming highly connected to them, and then, you know, they're kind of like spending more and more time with that person, and maybe less time with you, or not as much time with you, and they're really going away from you, you know, like they're emotionally invested in someone else. And you know, with asexuality, it's really important to know that, you know, although we don't, as a general rule, go around wanting sex with loads of people, you know, and we're not going to be, you know, we're very faithful in that aspect. You can have emotional affairs, you know, if for example your partner, you've got a living apart together relationship, and in that time that you're apart, they end up focusing on one particular individual, and with that individual, they're just spending loads of time with them, they're sharing their secrets with them, they're just like really into them, even if they don't say, even if they're not in a relationship with them and they don't say, you know, they could be so deeply committed and like in a relationship with another person, that while you're, you know, while they're apart from you, they're actually really, their heart's with someone else. So I think it takes a lot more trust to live separately from someone. I think it takes a lot more trust. But it's kind of like a healthier way of living in some ways, you know? And it's good to, if you've got completely different lifestyles, especially as well if you're extrovert with an introvert. Like, introverts do tend to need their own space, because they can get very you know, gazonked with their energy if they're just spending all their time, you know, talking to you and being with you, you know. Like, but with me, because I'm so extrovert, I love being extrovert, I don't want myself to ever change, and I want an introvert that would love that about me, you know. Ideally, I'd spend 2 or 3 days, 3 days maximum with me, and then they could go back to their own place for the next 4 days and do whatever they wanted, and they can have chill time away from me. Do you know what I mean? But obviously, I still need my quiet time as well. I still need time to myself. It's really important that when you get into a relationship, you don't just spend all your time with the other person. You actually nourish your own soul and your own being, you know? I think that's really vital. And so, you know, but like I said, it does take a lot more trust, you know, because I mean, obviously you're both going to have your own separate lives and your own separate friends. And I think that's good and healthy, but your partner should always still be your top love of your life and priority in that way, you know, even when you're all living apart. Because if you don't make that person your top priority and love of your life, you will literally drift apart and you will end up being with someone else, or just not being together anymore. Because, you know, that bond should be the strongest ever. If you find yourself loving someone else, and the person you're actually with you don't love as much as the person, other people that you see in the week, then you don't be with that person, do you? Because you can't give your full time attention and love and heart to that person because it's craving after someone else. I think that's so important. I mean, I meet quite a lot of people, foreigners particularly, online, and they're still craving their ex-girlfriend or their first love from years ago. And it's like, until you've moved on from that person, you can't be a good partner for me, because you're always thinking about them, you're always craving them, you're always wanting them, you're always brokenhearted for them, and it's not healthy. So if you do get into a relationship with anyone, whether it be living apart together or not, make sure that you're over your exes. You're not harboring any feelings, because if you are, be honest and say, look, I'm still getting over my ex. I can't have a relationship with you at the moment. I'm still needing time out. I'm still getting over my ex, but I appreciate your interest in me. We could possibly be good together, but it's really important you do that. And if you do, have a living apart together relationship and you do grow apart and end up liking someone else, the sad thing is you'll have to split up. You can't be harboring any thoughts, feelings, emotions for loads of other people, and the person you're really with, you it's not your priority, not the love of your life. Do you know what I mean? Always the person you're with, you need to value, whether you're living with them or not. They should be the most important. Your friends should be highly important too, don't get me wrong, but if you can't make your partner a priority in your life, they shouldn't be your partner, just be your friend. You know what I mean? And so you have to make time for that person in your life. You have to, when you live apart as well, you do have to make sure, if you have a living apart together relationship, that you've always got times that when you're seeing each other next. You do not want a living apart together relationship where you don't know what the hell the other person's doing, where they haven't confirmed with you, oh, we're going to see each other this week or not. You don't want to live your life like that. Like the person who's in my house, she lives downstairs, and like I said, her boyfriend lives quite a few miles away, and he comes and stays over. And they have an arrangement where he comes to her every weekend, because it's easier for him. I think he drives and she doesn't. So he comes to her every weekend, and I think it's Friday, Saturday, Sunday, they're just together every weekend usually, well, the majority of the time. So they've always got that time that they know they're going to be together, right? And I think it's so important, a living apart together relationship, that you establish each week when you're going to see each other or not, as the case might be. Like there might be times like I can't commit every weekend to my partner if I want to see some friends at weekends and stuff as well. Do you know what I mean? I have to but then your partner should be like, well, you can't see me the weekend, let's meet up in the week, or let's see each other one day at the weekend and not the other day, because you need to make time really to be seeing each other weekly. Sometimes it might be fortnightly or less, but you need to be making that time for each other. And if you haven't got a plan of action, the relationship is like, where is it headed? Because when you're living separately and having a relationship, it can feel very much distant if you're not constantly making plans to be together and see each other. You should literally be having a living apart together relationship, because you are still together, living apart but together. And the main focus is together. You're still in a relationship, you're still committed, you're still seeing each other. And you should be seeing each other regularly. If your partner is umming and ahhing over when they're going to see you next, and you're in a full-blown relationship with them and they can make their mind up, that's not good. That's not a good sign. That's not going to work as a healthy living apart together relationship, because you're being like, when the hell am I next seeing the person? Don't they want to see me and spending time with me? And you need to know that living apart, but you're together. So everything that comes with being together, spending time with each other, talking to each other, communicating regularly, messaging each other, video chatting with each other, all that should still be going on. Even though you're not living with each other, you're still together, because you're a serious, committed relationship, And if a person's really serious about you, they want to see you each week. They'll want you to be in their life. I mean, there might be an odd time when they can't. Maybe they're going away on holiday for a week or something, or maybe just so much work or something's happened that, you're out all weekend staying over with friends. They can't get to see you in the week. So it goes on to the next week, but you need to know that in advance. You can't just say, oh, right, well, you've got to communicate and say well, this weekend I really need to see my friend, or a couple of weekends time I won't be able to see because I've got to see my friends. And, and try and make time for each other in a week, or an alternative arrangement, because you want to be keeping the relationship alive. You don't want it to be a stage where you're not seeing each other for 3 weeks. You've got nothing planned. And you're like, what the hell's going on in the relationship? Is it falling apart, or we end up just being friends because we're not together? because we're not physically living together. What the hell's going on? So you don't want that type of relationship, right? You want the type of relationship where you know exactly what's going on. You know the person wants to see you and spend time with you. You know you're doing all you can to meet up whenever you can, as often as you can, but also give yourself time and space apart as well in a week to do your own work and your own things. You want to like establish like what's happening with food. Like, are you bringing your own food round to each other's places? What's happening with clean up after yourselves? Are you doing that? They doing that? What's happening with, I mean, clean up after yourself is really clean up after yourself, right? You don't want to go to their house and like cause chaos and then never help them out and just expect them to clear up after you. It's not good. You know, like what's happening with staying over each other's places? You know, are you staying the night or not? You know, or do you just want to play it by ear? You know, if you live around the corner from each other, then obviously it's easy to just go back to your own place, isn't it? But if you're living miles away, then you probably one does need to stay over the other place. And then what's going to happen if you can't sleep? You know, if I can't sleep, I have to just get up in the end. I can't stay there for 2 hours of my life wasting it away, you know? And so, you know, all these things need to be established and talked about. You know, like how often do you want to be seeing each other per week? Ideally, what's the minimum and what's the maximum? You know, I mean, when you first get into a relationship, you don't really want to be seeing each other every single day of the week because that just get too claustrophobic, too much, too soon, and overwhelming for you. You know, like 1 day a week might be the most you want, or when you're just like, you know, if you're in a full-blown relationship, you'd want to see each other every week, ideally. You know, but if you're saying you're just starting dating, then you wouldn't, you know, you'd have to have some time apart to establish if that relationship is good for you, rather than jump into everything. But a living apart together relationship, you'd want to establish how many days a week you'd want to see each other, because you don't want to be having a living apart together relationship that feels like you're more apart than together. Do you see what I mean? You should very much be thinking and focusing like you're still in a relationship. You know, it just means you have to negotiate. You should be putting on your calendar together when you're like seeing each other, when you're like spending time with each other. If you're going to video chat while you're away, you know, what's a good evening for you to video chat? Make time for that together rather than just land it on someone. You know, like the last thing you want to do is like encroach on the other person's life, but you want to be integrated into their life, if that makes sense. So when you're living apart from each other, you should be putting time on your calendar and in your diary, like specific times, days and dates that you see each other, that you Skype with each other, that you be in each other's lives. Because although you're apart, the emphasis is very much on together. The moment someone stops feeling like they're actually together with a person is when they become insecure, is when they become fearful and frightened of the relationship, is when things break down, communication happens, and then you start worrying about the relationship, you start fretting about it, you start fearing it, being insecure, then you start, the issues start coming up, and then you start fighting with each other, or being not speaking to each other, or avoiding each other. You know, this is not healthy. So I think in order to have a living apart together relationship, right, it is a lot harder. It's a lot more work in some ways. And there's a lot more trust involved because you're not in each other's lives 24/7, because you have your own life. But you have to make sure you're organizing consistently and persistently every single week of your lives time that you would spend together, whether that's virtually or in person or both. Do you know what I mean? You can't just expect a living apart together relationship to work if you feel like you're so apart that you're never together. Do you see what I mean? That's not how it works. And living, it means you're living apart, but you're very much together in a serious, committed relationship. This is the whole point, right? So, and it's really important that when you are on dating sites, when you're talking to someone, that you do say that you want to live separately from them. I mean, I used to have that in my profile, actually. I don't think I've updated my profile to say I want living apart together relationship, because at the moment I'm just focusing on my career and finances. To be honest, I'm not really focusing so much on dating anymore. But you know, it's really important that, you know, when you talk to each other, you actually establish, is the other person good with living separately? Because the majority of asexuals, they don't want to live separately. The ones that I speak to, they actually want to live with you. And if you are lucky enough to find another asexual who wants a living apart together relationship, you should be kind of holding on to them. Do you know what I mean? Like, some people, they don't realize what's in front of their noses. Like, I don't want kids, I don't want marriage, I don't want sex, and I don't want to live with someone. Like, if I find someone with those 4 criteria similar to me, then that's going to be like a really good foundation for a happy, healthy relationship. But obviously I have to have things in common. Like, I have to be able to have similar interests and do similar things to them, similar hobbies and stuff. But, you know, you really, you know, the people you come across, you should be like ruling out deal breakers. Like, it's a deal breaker for me if someone wants children, because I don't. It's a deal breaker for me if someone wants marriage, because I don't. It's a deal breaker for me if you know, if someone wants sex, because I don't, you know. Like, that's why I need an asexual person, really. But if someone wants to live together, I can't do that, you know. Like, I don't want to live with someone. And even if I was to even think about living with someone, it would be way in the future, like way like that. But I love my place here. Why would I want to move somewhere where I'm so happy just to be in a relationship with a person and then be unhappy where I'm living? Because I love where I live. It's taken me ages to get this beautiful place. Like, before I lived here, I've lived here on my own for 14 and a half years now, a long time. I know I'm too young looking for that, but this is my part. This is kind of weird saying this, 14 and a half years, but I have, and I really, really love and adore here, you know. And I before I lived here, I had lived in some really bad places in my city, really, really bad places where there's a lot of drugs, violence. You're fearing for your life. You're having to share stuff with people, like kitchens and toilets that are filthy, and you know, like there's a meter. Kitchen meter that's just running out all the time of money, and people are like, well, I'm not using the kitchen, I'm not paying, and stuff like that. So it's very difficult to get a good house in my city, right? And this is a beautiful, beautiful place I live in. I live in a flat in a beautiful, like big Victorian house. Some people actually, someone said it's Edwardian, but anyway, it's a really big ceilings. It's so cozy. Everyone in the house, there's 4 of us that live in the house, but I live in a flat in the middle of it. And you know, everyone's really nice people. There's no, everyone's like kind of like professional, and everyone gets on, even though we live completely separate lives. I mean, sometimes we don't speak to each other for months, like weeks, you know what I mean? And so you know, we're very much like separate entities. I live in my own self-contained flat in the middle of a house, so I don't really, you know, my housemates keep all their doors pretty much shut most of the time or stuff. We'd have to text each other sometimes, like if even though we're in the same house, if things are going on because they've been having some work done to the kitchen downstairs, they text me. We don't go and speak to each other and say, hey, this is happening. We text each other. So even though we live in the same house, we do live very, very completely separate lives. But I like it. I live around the back of, and I'm just so like, I live in the middle, but my bedroom's kind of like the back of the middle, if that makes sense. So I've still got people around me, good neighbours as well. And you know, I really adore living here. I cannot explain how elated I am. So that's why I really don't want to move. You know, I don't want to go to live in a place where, you know, I'm not going to be happy. It took me ages to get this place, and there's lots of places in my city, like I said, that's really bad, and that's not what I want for my life, you know. And so there are some good places, right? I mean, around the corner from where I live is quite nice places as well. The majority of them, not all of them, but you know, it's really important that I get the right guy for me if I do have a relationship, and that someone who wants a living apart together relationship as well, because I definitely couldn't live with someone right now. I don't even like someone being in my bed at night, staying over. I just don't. I like my own space, you know. I like my own bed to myself. I don't like, you know, I don't want to get into a relationship again where a guy in the early infancy of our relationship just wants to come and stay over. At the moment, I'm not up for that, you know. My mind's like, I don't want it. I don't want a guy in my home who I don't really know, who I haven't got to know in a relationship sense yet, who I don't even know if I can kiss. I mean, obviously, if it's a foreign guy, it's slightly different because I know I can kiss foreign guys. But if it's British, because my last boyfriend was British, which I didn't expect, it's kind of harder for me to kiss a British guy because I'm not as aesthetically attracted to them. If it's a foreign guy, I kind of like different. I just like foreign guys. Certain foreign guys I could just kiss, no problem whatsoever. But even though, you know, I don't want some guy I've just met coming in my flat. You know, it's like, it's my home, it's my sacred place, it's my place I like to chill, be myself, my creative thoughts, do what I want when I want. And when you've got someone here and they just want to go to bed early and they need their sleep, like I can't sleep. It's like I'm energetic, bubbly, and excitable. I want to get up and do stuff and live my life, not be sat bored out of my brain for 2, 3, 4 hours because I can't sleep and they are. It's just like pointless to me. What a pointless waste of life. You know, I have to emphasize that your life is your own in this world. You know, you come into this world alone, you die alone, really. Well, you might have a friend or partner if you're lucky, you know. I think that's what's so kind of hard about a relationship as well. It's like years and years later, you got to think like, who do you want as a life partner to be there at the end with you? Do you know what I mean? And obviously, if you're having a living apart together relationship, there might be a time when you're much, much older and you want to live with the person because it's like you're 80 years old and you're thinking, well, you might want to still be separate, or you might want to live with each other for like the remaining years of your life or whatever. Do you know what I mean? Because you might want that by then. But you know, it's really important to just get someone who you totally love and adore being in a relationship with, and hopefully you can work it out together so that your living arrangements are suitable for both of you. and that you're both content. But I mean, if I was to go on an asexual dating site right now and they said, oh yeah, I just want to live with someone like within a year, I wouldn't be up for that. I can't be doing with it. I want to keep my flat. I am secure, happy, confident in my flat. I'm very blessed. I love every moment of living here. I'm so grateful and thankful for this place. Like, you cannot believe, if you knew what my life was like when I lived in the other horrible places, you would know this is a palace. Right? I know it's not everyone's idea of a palace, but it's my idea of a palace. You know, I've got bright colours, a beautiful bed, nice pictures around me, beautiful home. It's nice and cozy. It's all double insulated, and I can't hear much noise in the rest of the house. It's just really good. It's like my safe haven, and I feel really secure and happy here, and I love it to bits. I just adore my home so much, you know. And you know, so it's really important to, like, you know, have a house that is literally your home, that you adore, you know, and the environment you live in is so important for having a healthy relationship. Like, if I went to live in a place with a partner and I hated the place, think what that's going to be like in terms of my relationship with them. I'm just going to end up resenting them, hating them, or being angry or aggro because or frustrated that I don't live in a nice place. You know, I lived in one place with an ex, and literally aesthetically it was so beautiful. I thought, this is like a amazing place. You know, it was so gorgeous looking. Got into it, and the walls and the ceilings were so paper thin. The guy was a drummer underneath, right? And he's just banging his drums as you're trying to eat in the table in the corner of the living room, you know, and he's just banging his drums, and you know, you can hear it boing, 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 boing. And then you know, I was in the bedroom, and you can hear the woman upstairs having sex, and the floors are so paper thin, you could hear every single creaking of the bed. And obviously I'm asexual, who personally doesn't like sex. And even if I was into sex myself, I don't want to hear anyone else do it. Do you know what I mean? And so it's like gross, because it was like I was just in the same room as them, because literally the floors, they might not have may as well not even had a floor in there, you know, because it was that thin. You could just hear everything. And another time she was having a conversation with her boyfriend, and you can hear every single word of that. And it's just like, it felt like I was living with people in my own personal space that I didn't want to know or have anything to do with, and that were doing stuff that I wasn't interested in. And so, and I, at that time, I was with a sexual ex, you know, heterosexual ex. So it wasn't like I wasn't having sex, because I was myself back then, sometimes, not all the time. But you know, I don't want to be hearing that. Do you know what I mean? It just grosses me out. And so, you know, it was very hard. I hated it. I only lived there 6 months. And thank God I moved to this place after that. But I lived in some other places, and it's like, you know, where a guy's trying to smash a place up or beat his girlfriend up, and oh my God, it's just horrible. I've lived in house with a paedophile, which was disgusting. He lived upstairs with people on drugs, and oh my God, I don't want that for myself again. You know, I live in a very happy, healthy, safe home, and I want it to stay like that. My peace and calmness is here. I love it. You know, I'm very blessed that I want to hold on to this beautiful place as long as possible. You know, I realize it's not mine, so obviously, you know, because I rent, you know, it's not mine. I don't own it, and there's no way of owning it that I know of. So you know, I am aware that I might still need to move somewhere else in the future, in years to come, you know. And I want to try and save change my financial circumstances. I can save for my own home as well, even though I love it here so much. Because even if I buy another place, I could buy it to rent it out to other people. And then, you know, if I can't stay here for some reason, then I've still got home to go to, you know, because they'd be on a tenancy. So that's the kind of thing I could do. So, you know, I mean, obviously I don't know what the future holds. You know, I could, you know, if I get a job somewhere a million miles away that I have to go, might have to move. But you know, I love living here, and right here I'm happy, you know. And I don't believe that you should get into a relationship and change parts of your life that you're actually happy with. Because if you're happy with your life, you shouldn't be having any less of a life than you're already having. Do you see what I mean? You shouldn't be moving and living with someone if it's going to make you miserable, not because of the person necessarily, but because you don't want to move. You love your life of where you live. And so, you know, it's really important to stick to what you love and to be happy in the moment with what you've got. And I only want a partner that's going to come into my life and enhance my life and make it even more better than it's already, or to keep the same level of happiness I've already got. you know. And if I have a loving partner, they would understand that. They wouldn't want me to move from somewhere just for the sake of being in a relationship with them because they want to live with me and pull me out of a place that I'm so happy at and with. Do you know what I mean? This is like, this flat is like part of my personality. I can't describe it. It's like me and the flat are one in our souls a lot of the time. It's like we understand each other and we're like got a special bond. I'm bonded to my flat, I think. I love living with my flat. So anyway, I hope this video has been useful, helpful, insightful in some ways. If it has, please give it a thumbs up. Have you had a living apart together relationship? Would you try it? Do you like it? What do you think of it? If you got any questions or comments, feel free to leave them out down below and I'll answer them or create another video in response to it, or both. Don't forget, if you haven't already subscribed, please hit the great big subscribe button. Please hit that bell icon to get notified every time I go live and I post a new video. And don't forget to give this video a thumbs up if you're enjoying the content. Till next time, embrace your quirky and each other's, and I will see you on the next live stream or video. Take care. Bye.